I wonder if there's space in the remembering for a sense of humor in terms of being kind to yourself and trying to, think of things that bring you some sense of joy as you remember, so that it'll be something that you then, you're not beating yourself. Oh God, I forgot again,
I agree.
So,
I agree. Because joy, that sense of joy, goes hand in hand, right, with the sense of openness or spaciousness or relaxation. Of course, we laugh more and more easily when we're feeling relaxed and calm and spacious. It's not that we're zoned out on the one hand or locked in on the other. I read this blog on the New York Times somewhere about a year ago, someone writing about their experience with mindfulness practice as they understood it. And it was horrible. I couldn't imagine doing that, let alone teaching it to other people. Because it was this kind of mindfulness where instead of paying attention to whatever's happening, you're just busy telling yourself, just be mindful, just be mindful, just be mindful, just be mindful. And there's no flavor or relaxation or space or joy at all in your experience. And this woman who wrote this said her friends were killing her, saying, you've got to stop this stuff. We can't even talk to you anymore. You're no fun at parties. We can't invite you over for dinner. What happened to that old person who we really loved and enjoyed? So then she thought, maybe there's something wrong with this meditation technique. Yeah.
I was wondering if you could tell us some stories about Kusan Lingpa or Lama Norla or Tulku Sherdor Rinpoche and your experiences with them.
Does it have to be a funny story? No? How much time do we have, Lama?
This is a good time for a commercial break. A word from our sponsor, Blazing Wisdom Institute, a path strewn with flowers and bones, all about Rinpoche's teachers and in Tibet and here. I much recommend it to you.
Okay,
but he'll tell us a few stories. He doesn't need this. I just needed to mention this to you because I want people who like these things to read this.
I'll make you a deal, or I'll propose a deal, and then I'll tell you a story that's not in the book. And it includes Lama Surya, actually. I don't know if he'll remember when I tell the story, maybe we'll see. So here's the deal. Blazing Wisdom, you Google Blazing Wisdom or go to blazingwisdom.org. You buy the book, you like it, I'm very happy my purpose in writing it is served. You don't like it, you send me an email, I'll give you a full refund. But if you like it and you find something valuable in it and you don't apply for the refund, then you have to recommend it to 3 other people. My teacher was the best negotiator you've ever seen. You have no idea. He always got what he wanted, almost. You had to be really tough not to give in. So here's the story. And it's just kind of a thoughtful story, give you reason for reflection. There's no big punchline at the end. But it goes back to the first time when I met Lama Surya Das, which was in Nepal when, this is mentioned in the book, when he was, among other things, collecting stories from different teachers to include in his first book about great teaching stories or great lessons from the stories that lamas tell when they teach. And we were together at Kanying Monastery in Bodhanath, and I was scheduled to go see Tulku Urgyen, who was staying down at that main monastery in Bodhanath at the time, and Lama Surya wanted to see him as well, and there was one other person who had been waiting some time to meet Tulku Urgyen, and his name was Lodro Dorje Holmes. He was the Vajracharya within Trungpa Rinpoche's organization, which was called Vajradhatu then, before it was Shambhala. And Vajracharya means he was kind of an important guy in that organization. Dorje Lopun in Tibetan, it means, in theory, he was in charge of how to perform all of the advanced tantric rituals, to making sure all of their students knew how to do things properly and all had an organized plan and curriculum to follow and so on. So he had requested a meeting with Tulku Urgyen to also ask him some questions. So as it turned out, the three of us went upstairs and had an audience, a private audience with Tulku Urgyen. And Lodru Holmes asked Tulku Urgyen, you know, if Vajrayana Buddhism is so great, how come so few people in the West, he meant, are interested in it? If it's the best, shouldn't it be the most popular? I mean, if it's that profound and powerful and swift, as you guys are always saying, why is it, you know, so few people want to learn Tibetan Buddhism? There's so many more people practicing Zen or, you know, Vipassana meditation or Namrengi Kyoho or whatever that is. And so that was his question, and for some reason it had been really bothering him. And Tulku Urgyen laughed as usual, and he said, let me explain it to you this way. Let's say you're the king and you're running a whole country, right? I said, okay. You're a king and you're running a whole country and you've got this policy that you want to implement that is supposed to benefit everyone, whether they're rich or poor or educated or non-educated, and you've got to sell your program to the people. You've got to explain it to them in a very clear and simple way that, you know, will get your point across, and you know, people will understand and they'll be able to follow whatever policy, you know, you're implementing. He said, that's like the basic foundation of Buddhism. That's like the, whether you call it Hinayana or Theravadan or called the general schools of Buddhism. Just, you know, Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, just, you know, lay it out in a very kind of systematic, clear way that everyone can understand and follow. So then the king, in his mind, he has this policy and he's, you know, figuring out how to put it across to the people. So where does he go but to his council of ministers and close advisors? And he says, you know, this is what I want to do for the benefit of the people. You know, here's what I'm actually trying to accomplish. I can't say it in those terms because people won't appreciate or get it, but, you know, help me figure out what is the way to do this. Let's come up with the way to explain this policy to everyone. But here's what's really on my mind. So you guys and gals, my close advisors, you understand what I'm really thinking here. You can help me state this as public policy. So what the king says to his ministers already is somewhat more private, maybe more sophisticated than what he says to the world at large. So Lodru Holmes says, okay, I'm with you so far. You're kind of saying, you know, Mahayana, we call it the Mahayana Buddhism, which talks about emptiness and talks about the, you know, the four immeasurable qualities and so on, is not as much for everyone as the basic teachings of Buddhism. And Tulku Urgyen said, wait, I'm not finished.